Hey Brainiacs, how you guys doing today? I am at camsbrain and I appreciate you guys for tuning in to yet another compelling episode of my humble opinion. If you guys are new here, again, I am at camsbrain and we have been tackling a book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Each week we take one parable, if you would, and we kind of break it down. We compare it to our lives and to other things that may be happening in business and spiritually. This week is no exception. We will be doing the 8th law of power. Make others come to you. Use bait if necessary. When you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It is always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack, so you hold the cards. Now, how I always start this situation, a lot of people don't like the 48 Laws of Power because it teaches in some ways manipulation. A lot of people will say it's the art of manipulation. And I would agree to that if you allow yourself to take the things that are being written in context. Like, I take it out of context and kind of try to make it as positive as I can. Now, I also think the 48 Laws of Power is a good book because we're living in the real world, right? So what ends up happening is things aren't pretty and people are going to manipulate you. So the more you're aware of that, the better. That's going to always be something that's going to happen in life. Definitely when you become a young adult, if you have business that you're dealing with, if you have a personal life, a relationship, all those sorts of things, those will all play a factor in why you can use this parable. When I see or when I hear the make other people come to you thing, it's kind of like what we have been, it's kind of like a recurring theme of saying less. Like, I've found, especially in a very big group of people, when you say less, people are attracted to you more. So when I hear the whole make other people come to you, it's almost like what we talked about last week, where it's like create a spectacle of yourself. It's also a situation where it's like, be careful what you share with others. You know, don't give somebody too much. Also, don't outshine the master. All these other things that we continue to dissect and we continue to read in this book, in my opinion, kind of all says the same thing in a different way for different scenarios. So for me, when I hear make other people come to you and use bait if necessary, like, so for instance, in business, my bait is advertisement, right? My bait is the ability to set myself aside from other companies, my ability to set myself aside from other distributors. There used to be a saying, undersell and over deliver, and that was kind of like my bait, me being able to undersell a situation and then over deliver, and then offering a great product was the way that I decided, or I was able to reel people in. I was able to make other people come to me. Now, in relationships and things like that, you may have a guy or you may have a girl that will have a fake persona to reel you in, and then when you get to know this person a little bit better, you realize they ain't nothing like you thought they were. And you know, unfortunately, those are things that happen every day. Those are things that you have to look out for all the time. But if you put yourself in a position where you understand that this is going to be something that's going to happen, you become more aware of it, right? So the more aware you are of it, the more you can protect yourself, guard yourself, and put yourself in a position of power where you're able to know what steps to take, what moves to make based on the things that you're going through. So, you know, the comment when it says when you force one person to act, you're in control. For me, I look at that along the lines of me in a situation. If I can get somebody to get me to act out of character, then that's when I know I need to take a step back and I need to evaluate what I have going on with me, right? So again, I think reading this statement, dissecting what it's saying, it has a two-part situation to it, where if you're able to get somebody out of their character, then obviously, you know, you gain control of them because they're doing something that they typically wouldn't do. But at the same time, if you are the person that is being tested, if you realize, hey, I'm about to do something that I normally wouldn't do, that's when you know maybe you need to take a step back. You need to figure out how you need to handle the situation in a positive way and reevaluate who you're dealing with and why you're dealing with them. Sometimes you have no choice but to deal with people. Like, especially like even if you're like a kid, you know, you have no choice but to deal with your parent. If you work in a regular job, you have no choice but to deal with your boss. If you're working a big deal, if you have a big client, you have no choice but to complete that contract in most situations, unless you want to go through litigation, so on and so forth. So reevaluating the fact that somebody is making you come out of character and being able to switch that immediately so that you can progress in what you're doing, it's very important. It's key. But I know for myself, if I think about a time where, like I said, I had to do something like this in a manipulative way, I can't, and again, I'm not perfect. I'm just saying I can't necessarily think of a time where I had to use that. Well, you know what? I have a soft-hearted example of how I've been able to do this, and it was a manipulative way. So I have 3 little girls, right? So one thing, when they were younger, or when they were preteens, I would say, they went through a stage where they wanted to do a lot of things that I wanted them to do, but it seemed like the more and more I had interest in what they liked, they didn't want to do it anymore. So I realized that sometimes I had to make them come to me. So even if I liked a situation and I wanted to share that with them, I couldn't be completely upfront with them. So, you know, I'll throw little, you know, side hints or little things that they may have interest in and then walk away. So for instance, I used to love painting and things like that. And my middle child ended up really getting really into art. And I pushed her to do it. And then she lost interest, which is quite understandable, especially if somebody's kind of pushing you to do it. And I realized, okay, well, I got to take a step back. And my wife, you know, she said the same thing. She's like, you know, just let her do her thing. Don't push it on her as much. So I said, yeah, you know, you're right. But what I ended up doing, the way I lured her back in, I kind of started taking more interest as an individual, because I realized at the end of the day, she got that interest. Well, maybe she didn't just get it from me, but it started with her seeing me have the interest in art. And I kind of myself lost the interest, and she kind of motivated me to like it again. So I started just doing more stuff as it related to painting, as it related to drawing, so on and so forth, buying certain, you know, paint kits and colored pencils and crayons and stuff like that I would use for myself, but really I would never open them, because I knew at the end of the day it was bait to lure her back in to want to have interest in what I really also had interest in. And I can admit that maybe I was living vicariously through her. But anyways, that is a moment where I have to admit I did use this situation of manipulation, and hopefully I don't get beat up for admitting that. But yeah, there's a slew of different ways that this scenario can go. I mean, I think one way for myself that I was manipulated earlier in life, when I was younger, I had just started a business and it was going well, and there was another guy online that kind of was doing what I was doing, but in my opinion not as good as me. But he kind of, you know, got a friendship going with me, started asking questions, and you know, basically just, it seemed as though we had a common interest. And for me, he was being respectful enough, so I decided to share. And what ended up happening was, really what he was doing was trying to learn as much as I knew so that he can go and do it for himself. But again, for me, I don't have a problem with that if there's communication there. In this instance, there wasn't communication. Now, the part where I almost got out of my character was when I found out what he was doing, and that he was using same material I was using. He was creating the same thing that I was creating. And quite honestly, it wasn't even as good as mine. But what upset me was he was using the pictures of the item that I made as advertisement for himself. So that was one instance where I was manipulated in that way. And I almost got out of character. I really lost it, if I'm being completely honest. Outside of the situation, like, I didn't let him see that. But for me, I was really upset. But the moral of the story is, I was able to think about this context, right, of people luring you in. I was able to say to myself, okay, well, in all reality, I was aware that people can do this. So even though he did do it, even though he had ill intentions and I didn't pick up on it, I still knew enough to be aware. And because I wasn't aware, I had to hold myself responsible for what I was upset with. And that's what allowed me to calm myself down. It's like, yeah, I can be upset with him. It's like, yeah, I can be upset with him for what he's done, but at the end of the day, I should have knew enough to see it coming. So when I hold myself responsible for that, then it kind of calms me down a little bit more, and then it makes me realize, okay, now I have to do a little recon. Now I have to figure out how I can turn this around and gain the position of power and be able to kind of get back what I feel as though has been taken away from me in a business sense. Now, personally, and things like that, when you are in a situation where you feel like you're dealing with somebody that has not shown you their true self, or they're just dealing with you because they want to get something out of the situation or make you react in a way that is not conducive to like a very, very nurturing outcome. At the end of the day, you either have to just let that person go, leave that person alone, or you have to kill them with kindness. A lot of people are upset when they don't get back the energy that they're putting in, especially when it's negative. So at the end of the day, what I would say is, remember, in those type of instances, kill people with kindness. And spiritually, as an individual, if you have a higher power, if you believe in God, and you know you're dealing with somebody like this, it's not even worth dealing with. At the end of the day, you pray, you center yourself, you move on, you move forward, and you understand that now you've learned a lesson that will be valuable for the rest of your life, as long as you don't make the same mistake again. That's the beauty of learning a lesson when you actually learn it. The beauty of learning a lesson when you've actually retained what you've learned is that you won't make the same mistake twice. So it's a priceless lesson. It's invaluable as long as you learn those lessons. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think about this. Leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about it. If you agree with my end of it, if you agree with the more manipulative end of it, if you think it's okay, or if you don't think it's okay. I would love for you guys to get involved and let me know how you feel about this. I am at camsbrain. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of My Humble Opinion, and I will see you next time. Peace.